بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله والحمد لله لا شريك له لا إله إلا هو إليه النشور. أمسينا على فطرة الإسلام وكلمة الإخلاص وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. اللهم إنا أمسينا منك في نعمة وعافية وستر، فأتم علينا نعمتك وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما أمسى بنا من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك، فلك الحمد ولك الشكر. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا. حبتي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله جميعا، طبتم وطاب ممشاكم وتبوأتم من الجنة منزلا بإذن الله. ثم أما بعد. I think this is the very first time I'm visiting with Masjid al-Falah. Hopefully inshallah we'll be having a long-term collaboration and partnership between Guidance College and your masjid for the best interest of the community inshallah. As it was announced maybe several times that tonight's topic will be Islamic Finance 101 and tomorrow's topic in Masjid al-Wali will be Islamic mortgage companies. So that program tomorrow will be more focusing on the mortgage industry as opposed to like general discussion of Islamic finance tonight. And as you see here, the topic is Islamic Finance 101. You can break it down to Islamic and to finance and to 101. Let's start with the term finance as an industry. I mean, just to have an overall understanding of the whole issue. Finance actually as an industry means a group of people, individuals in a certain society do have extra money and they are very interested in giving that money to others for return. So they want to make money from the money that they have. And on the other side of the same society, same community, we do have some people or entities maybe looking for fund. Someone wants to purchase a house or to establish a business or to purchase a car or to pay for the tuition fees or upgrade his or her business. So there is a supply and there is a demand. There is a supply and there is a demand. In order for those two different parties to communicate effectively, we have to have a kind of platform or marketplace or a third party, someone who is willing to communicate with those who are willing to supply money and those who are willing to receive the money. In a very technical term, finance could be broken down to fund mobilization, collecting money from those who do have money, and fund utilization, redistributing the money, giving the money to those who are looking for fund, and fund intermediation, which is the communication and the platform that a third party facilitates to bring money from those who do have money and give it back to those who are looking for fund. Before we proceed, the fund intermediation is the main job of the contemporary finance institutes. Like here in the USA, for example, what do banks do? They receive investment from investors, They give them certain percentage as an interest, right? They take the money for 5% APR. They turn around and give that money back to some other people for 8% APR. And they keep the 3% APR as their own commission, as their own source of living. They make their profit from that difference between the amount that they charge and the amount that they receive from others. So that's finance as an industry. When you add to finance the term Islamic, now you are zooming in and talking about a very specific structure and very specific kind of finance system that abides by certain ethics and certain principles. It's not traditional finance, it's not the riba one, it's not the global finance system, no, it is the Islamic one. Islamic finance system actually has a lot of, or actually it should have a lot of transparency and integrity in a sense that every single individual, whether the fund supplier or the fund recipient or the third party, which is the bank or the finance institute or the investment company or the mortgage company, everybody has to keep up with the highest level of transparency and integrity. Transparency means everybody knows from day one who is doing what, who provides the money, and who is responsible for operating, okay, and managing that fund. Okay, if one of the partners decided not to proceed, what will happen? If he or she did not pay on time, if there was a kind of loss, okay, who's responsible for it, and so on and so forth. So every single scenario has to be incorporated in a contract, clear-cut contract. Everybody knows from day one who is doing what. No one can say, oh, I didn't know that. I was with the impression. No impression, no misunderstanding. Everything has to be clear from day one. So that is the transparency and the integrity that everyone has to maintain whenever he or she gets involved in Islamic finance. Ethics and values. In the Islamic finance system, permissibility overrides profitability. Permissibility overrides profitability or feasibility. In other words, regardless of how profitable, how feasible a certain project might be, if the outcome result, if the potential final product that we are sitting and discussing business, right, is something that is unacceptable within the Muslim community, something related like the final product, something related to adult entertainment, like related to alcohol or gambling or anything that's explicitly prohibited, well known to be haram, we cannot even sit down and talk business. I mean, it's just a done deal. Case dismissed from day one, as they say. We cannot even discuss it. So regardless of the level of profitability of that business, if it is standing against the principles, the ethics, the conviction, the manners of the Muslim community, it has to be banned from day one regardless. Commoditization and asset-backed means that in addition to the permissibility issue, make sure whenever you get involved in any business that you produce something that makes sense, something that adds value to the society. So you buy something, you sell, you manufacture, you commission, you trade, you facilitate producing and bringing some value to the society, something that is tangible, something that is beneficial, if it is not tangible commodity or merchandise, something that brings a kind of benefit, okay, to the society, right? Based on that, a good percentage of the so-called financial instruments that people actually trade in the stock market nowadays are not supposed to be within your comfort zone as a religious and practicing Muslim. CDS and CDO and derivatives and you name it, futures and options, the majority of those financial instruments are not to be an option for you as a practicing Muslim. You have an investment in the stock market, you limit yourself to stocks belong to halal business, and within this option, stocks belong to halal business, you have to make sure that the debt asset ratio is to the minimum, that the interest bearing investment is to the minimum, that the interest income is to the minimum. CDS, CDO, options, futures, derivatives, all these different options are not supposed to be a good option for you as a practicing Muslim. I'm not saying everything else is absolutely haram. I'm saying that most of those financial instruments do not make any sense whatsoever. CDS or CDO, for example, is a kind of connection between a piece of paper that you have, that you keep paying monthly on it, connected with a certain index or portfolio in the stock market. If they make a profit, you lose money. And if they lose money, you make profit. This is not actually the kind of business that you want to get involved in, and you feel so happy that you made money because of the loss of other people. This is not, an ethical business, okay, from an Islamic perspective. Of course, it goes without saying that the ban of interest or riba is the most explicit characteristic of the Islamic finance system. You cannot get involved in riba, period. You cannot lend money with riba. You cannot borrow money with riba. You cannot facilitate borrowing money and lending money with riba. لعن الله آكل الربا ومؤكله وكاتبه وشاهديه وقالهم سواء. Okay, very interesting actually to know here that when we say that riba is haram in the Islamic finance system, we are not like coming from scratch. We are not like, innovating something new. What we wholeheartedly believe in is that riba, interest, usury, call it whatever you want, was prohibited in Judaism, and the Quran itself actually is the one who told us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited the Jewish community from dealing with interest. قال سبحانه وتعالى about the Jews, قال وأخذهم الربا وقد نهوا عنه. They used to trade with interest, deal with interest, while they were prohibited from doing so. This is, straightforward to the point. وأخذهم الربا وقد نهوا عنه. Christianity, yes, we do not have the original Bible. Yes, we do have big question mark when it comes to the authenticity of the Bible that people refer to. But regardless, just grab any edition of the Bible and start reading. You will come across several verses either by Isa alayhi salatu wasalam or by Al-Hawari and the disciples, clearly, explicitly prohibiting their followers from dealing with interest. So there is a lot of consistency here. Judaism was, riba was prohibited in Judaism. Riba was prohibited in Christianity. Riba is prohibited in Islam and will continue being prohibited all the way until the day of judgment. Why I'm calling this presentation Islamic Finance 101? Because we are not here tonight to discuss very technical fiqh, tiny details. This is not 101. If someone is really interested in learning more about, let's say, Aqd al-Mudaraba, trustee partnership, we have actually a full, complete, program at Guidance College called Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. You will be learning, a lot of things that you would like to learn when it comes to traditional finance system or otherwise when it comes to Islamic finance system. But this presentation here is just to unlock the secret of the finance system that's called Islamic Finance 1. So we are not here to discuss all these technical tiny details. Take for example, if we concluded that opening a saving account is not a halal option, for example. Okay, what is the alternative, right? What do you think about those mutual fund companies who give you 10% or 12%? All these discussions and questions are not within the scope of this presentation. As simple as that. So this is actually what I mean by Islamic Finance 101. Now we said that the most explicit characteristic of this finance is the prohibition or the ban of interest. And it's good actually to learn more about interest. What do you mean by riba? Okay, everybody says that riba is haram, interest is prohibited, usury is haram. Sometimes you call it usury, sometimes you call it riba, call it interest, right? What kind of riba we are referring to? Some of us might tend to educate themselves, just to grab classical fiqh books and start reading. They go to Kitab al-Riba and start reading عمدة السالك وعدة الناسك المغني لابن قدامة المبسوط للسرخسي and so on and so forth. The more you read, the more you get confused. Okay, you come across examples that's absolutely irrelevant to our society. Come across examples for exchanging barley maybe for wheat, or apple for orange, or rice for sugar, or different kind of tamar or date fruit, okay, with a different quality and quantity. And the more you read, the more you get confused. I mean, you start scratching your head and asking a question: is this the riba that we are experiencing in this society, like Muslims in America in 2024? The answer is absolutely no. Okay, we are talking completely about different category of riba. All these examples, exchanging barley for wheat and sugar for rice, and all these examples are absolutely correct. Do not get me wrong. But the only problem here is that those examples are irrelevant to our society. We do not exchange barley for wheat. We do not exchange sugar for rice. If you want to buy something, you just grab your phone, you make an order. Okay, you go to that app and make an order within 2-3 hours. Okay, you find that order in front of your front door. You use your debit card, the credit card, sometimes even cryptocurrency to purchase whatever you want. So you feel that those examples that we read are confusing way more than to be relevant to our society. I want you to forget about all these big terms that our fuqaha use, okay? ربا الفضل, ربا النساء, ربا النسيئة, ربا الجاهلية, ربا الطعام, ربا النقود, ربا الديون. Those big names, forget about them. From now on, whenever I say riba, or I say interest, or I say usury, by the way, they could be used interchangeably. Some people do differentiate between usury and riba. From an Islamic finance perspective, we do not have that clear, differentiation between the two. So when I say riba, from now on, I do mean this very particular category, which is the following. the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender, along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for an extension in its maturity. And for more simplicity purpose, I want to just to forget about or for an extension its maturity. Just focus on the the rest of the definition. The premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender, along with the principal amount, as a condition for the loan. As a condition for the loan. In a very, very simple words, it is the interest-bearing loan that everybody knows. It is the interest-bearing loan that everybody is fully aware of. You go to Chase, you go to Wells Fargo, Capital One, Bank of America, you apply for investment loan, personal loan, business loan, construction loan, student, whatever the category might be. Once you are approved for $100,000 loan for 5% APR annual percentage rate, it means that you take that money, you use the money the way that you want, and within 1 year you have to pay the principal plus 5% annual percentage rate. 1 year, that's $5,000. You want to keep that money for 3 years, you pay how much? 115, and so on and so forth. So how many categories of money we have here? We have the premium and we have the principal. Now that premium could be lump sum, could be percentage, could be paid one time, could be periodical. Again, this is Islamic Finance 101, not to discuss very technical details. Could be like simple interest, could be compound interest, regardless of all these details. Any amount on top of the principal is counted as a premium. Any premium on top of the principal is counted as riba, as simple as that. And how many parties we have in this, in this deal here? We have borrower and we have lender. We have lender and we have borrower, which is actually something made very clear from day one, that there is no partnership between you, the recipient of the money, and the one who advances the money, or the financer, or the one who gives you the money. There is no partnership. You are absolutely by your own, right? The bank is not partnering with you. Maybe up to this moment, you start maybe sensing on why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made riba prohibit. You take that money, right? And you are absolutely by your own business loan. Okay, you make profit, you break even, you incur loss, you file bankruptcy, whatever happened to you, the bank doesn't care about you. By the law of the land, right? The bank can go after you in the court, in the court system, and just ask for the principal and ask for the premium on top of it. So that is the premium and that is the principal, that is the borrower and that is the lender. There is no partnership. That kind of funding or financing, we call it in a very technical term, we call it a risk-shifting finance. Risk-shifting in a sense that the bank is shifting the liability and the responsibility from its shoulder and put it just on your shoulder. Bank is just sitting, relaxing like me, like this, sitting, right? Waiting for you to pay the principal and the premium on top of it. There is no liability, there is no risk. Some people say, no, the bank is taking the default or the failure risk, okay, which means that the borrower might just deny the loan, might procrastinate, might not pay on time, might just skip the country, might file bankruptcy. That's absolutely correct. But that kind of risk actually is a joint one. Even in the Islamic finance system, even whenever you give a certain brother or sister qardun hasan, interest-free loan, always there is a possibility of default or failure. So this is not the risk that I'm referring to. The risk I'm referring to is the outcome result of using that money. There is a profit, there is no profit, there is loss, okay? The outcome result actually of the loan is the absolute responsibility of whom? The borrower or the recipient of the money, and not the lender or the bank that gave you the money. So there is no partnership, there is no risk taken by the bank, and you can like sense from now the financial exploitation taking advantage of people who do not have money. The bank has a policy, has a certain criteria for that loan. If you agree, okay, you are the bank is telling you, hey, listen, this is what I have for you. You take it or you leave it, right? You are not in a position to negotiate a deal with the bank. And again, even if you are strong enough to negotiate a deal, when it comes to the risk and the liability, you are absolutely by your own. So if the traditional or the riba one, the global finance system, is based on risk shifting one. I want you to remember risk shifting as opposed to risk sharing one, which is the Islamic finance one that's coming soon. Remember those terms: risk shifting as opposed to risk sharing. Risk shifting is the haram one, is the riba one. Risk sharing is the halal, is the Islamic one. Challenge we face in this society here is not whether or not riba is haram. Everybody knows that riba is haram, right? Even our non-Muslim neighbors and friends, they know that practicing Muslims do not or are not supposed to get involved with interest. I don't think it is a challenge to identify what kind of riba we are referring to. Here is the definition of riba. It is the premium that must be paid by the borrower to the lender along with the principal amount as a condition for the loan. So this is the interest-bearing loan. Okay? And the good news here is that whether you follow the Hanafi madhab or the Shafi'i or the Hanbali or the Maliki or madhab Ahl al-Hadith, right? Regardless, all the madhab are unanimous that this kind of riba actually is prohibited. Whenever there is a premium on top of the principal, okay, that's stipulated by giving the loan, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. So the challenge that we face here is the confusion caused by the fact that we read in the classical books something, okay, they use like certain terminology, certain terms, but in the real life, we come across other charges or payments that are absolutely different from whatever we have read in the books. In the real life, in the day-to-day transactions in life, you come across something called penalty clause, right? Is it riba or not? We need to know. How about overdraft charge? I'll explain. Overdraft charge. Is it okay for you to pay overdraft charge to the bank? How about late fees? Every single utility bill that you receive does have a certain due date. Is that correct? What if you did not pay before the due date? What will happen? You have to pay late fees. Is the late fees haram or is it riba or not? If you do have business in the stock market, you receive something called dividend. Dividend means profit. Is it riba or not? How about profit, the term profit? How about commission, interest, cashback? Is the cashback haram or halal? Right? Fine, compensation, honorarium, service fees, equity, shares, and the list actually goes on and on. Right? So that's where the confusion is coming from. Okay? In the real life, you come across all these different terms. Okay? Payments or charge. Sometimes you charge others. Sometimes you get charged by others, or you subject yourself to receive money, or subject yourself to pay to others, right? And in the classical books, you read again, riba al-fadl, riba al-nasa, riba al-nasi'a, riba al-duyun, riba al-jahiliya, riba al-ta'am, and the more you read, the more you get confused. Now, our job actually is to try to unlock the secret of those contemporary transactions. And unlocking their secret actually is not a rocket science. It's a very simple process, believe it or not. Okay? And I will show you like a lot of examples now. If you can find out, if you can prove that any transaction, any deal, any contract, any partnership, any agreement, okay, if it is proven that someone is advancing money to others without taking any liability, any risk, and the principal is guaranteed by the recipient of the money, and there is a premium on top of the principal, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. As simple as that. One more time. If you can deduct, if you can find out in any deal that someone is giving money without taking any liability, any risk, and that principal is guaranteed, and the return on top of the principal, right? Call it a premium, call it surplus, call it profit, call it return, call it riba. Honestly, we don't care about those names, and I will explain why, right? If someone is giving money and the money is guaranteed and the return on top of the money is guaranteed, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, even if it is called otherwise. As simple as that. Before sharing with you some examples, let me just remind you with the fiqh maxim, qaida fiqhiyya, that applies perfectly fine when it comes to Islamic finance, right? It goes العبرة في العقود العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters in transactions is the essence and reality, not the wording or the formality. not the wording or the format. العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. What matters, what we care about when it comes to haram and halal. Okay, what matters in transactions is the essence and reality, not the wording or the format. By the way, this presentation is not copyrighted. I already sent a copy from it to Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Muhammad, the Imam, and there is another book that we teach at Guidance College. It's already sent, to him with some other material. So please feel free to communicate, talk to the Sheikh, and get your copy. It's not copyrighted. Please feel free to get a copy and forward it to whomever you want. There is another book that I authored that we teach at Guidance College. There is a series called the Top Financial Questions on YouTube. It's available. Like the Sheikh does have the link there. So please feel free to get a copy from everything that I sent to him. So why I'm saying this qaida fiqhiyya, because actually sometimes, and let me just give you an example. Some of those so-called Islamic mortgage companies in the USA, right? They claim that they offer you halal mortgage. It could be murabaha, like cost plus. It could be ijara, lease to own. It could be musharaka, declining partnership. But when you check the contract that they ask you to sign, you do not see that partnership. Okay? You easily conclude that the so-called Islamic mortgage company is paying money on your behalf, like to the landlord, and they do not take any risk. There is no liability whatsoever. You are fully responsible for the maintenance, for the tax, for the insurance, any appreciation, any depreciation, any increase, any decrease in the market value. You are by your own, right? And if you decide to quit that agreement or terminate the partnership, so-called, with them, they just go after you and ask for the principal. So they guarantee their principal. They do not take any risk, okay? And they guarantee the profit on top of the principal that they have, paid, okay, or invested with you. And at the end of the day, they tell you, listen, this is Islamic finance. Well, it is not. It is not. So even if you call it declining partnership, I don't care about the names. You need to show me in your contract that you are fully proportionally, okay, responsible for the maintenance, for the tax, for the insurance. If there is any appreciation or depreciation, you share that profit with me. You share that loss with me. You do not guarantee your principal because you are my partner, right? So if you are not taking any liability and any risk, and you guarantee your principal, right? You guarantee your principal. What kind of difference between your contract and the traditional mortgage, contract that I might sign with Chase or with Bank of America? So again, العبرة في العقود للمقاصد والمعاني لا للألفاظ والمباني. Let's take some quick examples. Those examples, okay, might relate to just a few dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, those examples. So we don't care about the amount, we care about the concept. Again, this is Islamic Finance 101. We need to understand what's haram and what's halal and what's riba and what is not. Let's take the saving account that I just mentioned in the beginning. Is saving account like opening a traditional saving account? Is it a halal option or not? We don't need to answer. I want you just to pause and think. Okay, how can you reinterpret, or how can you unlock the secret, right, of opening a saving account? Let's say that I have $10,000 cash, right? And I told my brother here that, okay, here is $10,000 loan, okay, you use that money, and by the end of 2025, how about that? 2025, you pay me $11,000. What do you call this deal? Interest-bearing loan. I give him $10,000. He's fully responsible for paying me back how much? $11,000. And instead of giving you the money, I changed my mind and I went to Bank of America. I opened a saving account with $10,000. Okay, based on the agreement that I signed either online or in person, right? They have to pay me back by the FDIC, by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. They have to pay me $11,000 total by the end of 2025. What is the difference between scenario 1 and scenario 2? It's the same. I advanced my money. I gave my money to someone, yarhamukumullah, and that money actually is guaranteed, and I will be receiving $1,000 guaranteed on top of the principal. You call it saving account, you call it riba, call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, this is an interest-bearing loan. The Islamic interpretation of what's going on here is that I am lending my money to the bank. I'm giving my money to the bank as a loan. When I open a saving account, they do not tell me, oh, hold on, this is an interest-bearing loan. No, they call it just saving account, right? But again, you have your own way as a practicing Muslim, as knowledgeable Muslim now. You know how to reinterpret and unlock the secret of those agreements. We said several times, if you can prove that someone is giving money and the principal is guaranteed and the return on top of it is guaranteed, that's the riba, which is exactly the case when it comes to opening a saving account. Someone might say, do you want to tell me that you, the one who has only $10,000, lend your money to Bank of America, who has hundreds of millions of dollars? Do they need your money as a loan? It doesn't go this way. Well, I mean, we don't care who has more and who has less money. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. The essence and the reality is that I am giving my money to the bank, and the bank is guaranteeing the principal. The bank is guaranteeing the return on top of the principal. That's the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. So to conclude here, opening a saving account is not a halal option, period. It is not. What is the alternative? That's a completely different discussion. We have like several alternatives based on like the reason behind opening a saving account. Why open a saving account to start with? Oh, I have a lot of money, it's not safe like to keep the money home. That's absolutely correct. Open another saving account, but do not release its information. Open another open another checking account for saving purposes, like free of charge, free of interest, checking account, but do not release its information. So you use it just like as a khazna, as a trust. You just put the money there and do not touch it. Someone else open a saving account to set off the inflation and the 2.5% zakat al-mal that he or she pays every year. That's a very good reason, behind opening saving account. Why do not you open just a mutual fund account, right? Yes, the principal is not guaranteed, but most probably you will be making between 7 to 10% annually. Why do not you open a gold wallet nowadays? Gold wallet. We have a lot of halal options where you can convert the American dollars that you have into actual real gold. You just open an account with gold. Gold, as you know, does have its own intrinsic value. If you deposit $10,000 today and you want to liquidate that account after 1 year, you're going to receive $11,000. But it is a halal one. Because again, gold does have its own intrinsic value, while the fiat money, or the currency that we use here, actually is losing its value because of the post-COVID severe inflation that the U.S. economy is facing nowadays. So again, when there is a will, there is a way. But to establish a fact here, opening a saving account actually is not a halal option, period. How about overdraft charge? Overdraft charge. Good example for overdraft charge is that you have your own debit card. Debit card is connected with your checking account. You have, let's say, $700 available, right? Available balance in your debit card. You stopped by a point of sale and you purchased an item, phone, for $1,000. And the transaction actually went through. And then after a few days, when you checked your an online statement, bank statement, you found out that you have to pay the $300 to the bank, and you need to pay on top of it $35 or $40 overdraft charge. It's not riba. It is overdraft charge. Okay, let's find out what's going on, as they say. Okay, what does it mean that you have only $700 and you purchased an item for $1,000 and the transaction actually went through? What does it mean? It means that somebody else paid $300 on your behalf. Is that correct? Is those $300 a gift or a loan? You have to pay them back, right? So someone actually is giving you $300 and asking you to pay him back how much? $335. That 35 by default, unless otherwise proven, is counted as riba. So the overdraft charge by default is riba. Someone might say, oh, hold on. This is a very irregular transaction, right? We as a bank, we have to do some work to process the payment, the 300, and to charge the customer back 300. Because of the actual hands-on work, we charge $35, right? That's a very good argument, by the way. And it could be the case. I'm not saying you are wrong. I'm saying by default, overdraft charge as Islamic Finance 101, by default, overdraft charge is riba unless otherwise proven. And otherwise actually could be proven. Otherwise could be proven. Take another example, home mortgage. When you get involved in mortgaging a house, okay, you are executing 3 simultaneous agreements at the same time. There is a sale agreement when where you purchase a house from the landlord, right? And there is a mortgage agreement. Of course, you do not have $700,000 cash or $1 million to pay for the house. So you go to the closest mortgage company and you apply for mortgage. Once your application is approved, the mortgage company would process a payment, write a check or just wire ACH money on your behalf to whom? To the landlord. That $700,000 has to be paid back, let's say $1 million straight within the next 20, 25, 30 years. In order for the mortgage company to secure their fund, right? They put a lien on the property, they mortgage the property. So you as a customer, you go through the sale agreement and the loan agreement and the mortgage agreement simultaneously, right? Like at one day you just sign everything and the house actually is yours. Sale agreement is halal, right? Mortgage agreement, the fact that the lender does have the right to secure his money or her money is halal. That's called the rahan, by the way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who indicated the permissibility of ar-rahan toward the end of Surah Al-Baqarah, where he said subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضَةٌ. Al-rihan actually is ar-rahan, and ar-rahan is the mortgage, right? So someone is asking for a loan, and the lender actually does not know the potential borrower very well. He can actually ask for a collateral. You can give, you can tell the borrower, give me your phone, give me your laptop, give me your car, few days until you pay me back the money, and then I'll release that property to you. That's called collateral. That's called rahan. Rahan actually is halal, right? So the sale agreement is halal, and the rahan agreement is halal. The only thing that's not halal is the loan one. You borrow $700,000, you pay it back $1 million within the next 30 years. Again, some people think that the mortgage company owns the property because their name is written on the deed of trust. Wrong answer. Deed of trust actually identifies 3 different parties. The third party who facilitates the transaction, and the second one is called the obliger, which is the borrower, which is you. And the third one is the financier, which is the bank who offers the money. So the bank actually is the lender. You are the obliger, and you are the owner. You own the property from day one. The fact that you see the name of the mortgage company on the deed of trust, right, doesn't mean that they own it. Their name is there as the lien holder, and not as an owner. You own the property from day one. You see the difference here? You see their name, but their name actually is ar-rahin, the lien holder and not the owner. You own the house, okay, you are the borrower, you are the owner. So we ended up actually having 3 simultaneous agreements or segments in that deal: sale agreement, loan agreement, and mortgage agreement, right? In the Islamic finance system, if one component of that agreement is clearly, explicitly prohibited, that prohibited segment is way more than enough to ruin the whole deal and to make it a haram one. And based on that, traditional mortgage, okay, mortgaging homes in a very traditional way in the USA is not a halal option, period. Now, how about the fatwa of Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi rahmatullahi alayhi, who said that otherwise? Again, that's not Islamic Finance 101, right? We are getting dragged into too many details. We are here just to establish facts, like very simple and basic. Based on the fact that you borrow money with interest from the mortgage company, home mortgage in a very traditional way is not a halal option. Let's take some other examples. As I said in the beginning, those examples might relate to few dollars, and might relate to hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't care about the amount, we care about the concepts. We are here to understand the riba, yarhamukumullah. So cashback means that you use your credit card It's not a debit card anymore. It's a credit card. And when you hold the credit card, use the credit card, it means that you are borrowing money from the credit card company. You are not using your own money. Unlike when you use your debit card. Debit card means that there is cash, halal money that you deposit in your checking account and use that money. So there is no lending and borrowing activities. But when you hold the credit card, right, you borrow money from the creditor, from the credit card company. You use that money for cash withdrawal, you use that money for paying bills, for purchasing items. Okay, you borrow money. If your line of credit is 100,000, it means that you can continue borrowing all the way until you reach the 100,000. But at the end of the day, this is a loan agreement, right? So all the rules and the restrictions of the loan in the Islamic finance system are to be applied here. Okay. Now to understand the concept of riba more, there is a qa'id that I forgot to mention here, which is كل قرض, listen to this, كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. One more time. كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. Each and every loan that brings stipulated benefit to the lender. I want you to underline the lender. Okay? Every and each loan that brings stipulated benefit, any benefit by the way, monetary or non-monetary one, benefit, okay, to the lender will be counted as riba. Will be counted as riba. Back to my brother here one more time. I'm picking on you today, I don't know why. So I will be giving you $100 and I ask you to pay me back 105 after 1 or 2 months. What do you call this deal? Interest-bearing loan period. Okay, here is $100, use it, and then after 2 or 3 months you pay me back only $100. What do you call it? قرض حسن, interest-free loan. Here is $100, okay, and you pay me back only $95. What do you call it? Opposite of riba, right? Okay, who is benefiting here? I'm the lender and you are the borrower. When I give you 100, right, and you pay me back only 95, who is benefiting here? The borrower, right? Now, is it riba based on that? No, it is not, right? Remember, كل قرض جر نفعا مشروطا للمقرض فهو ربا. Each and every loan that brings stipulated benefit to the lender, which is me in this case, will be counted as riba. The one who is benefiting here is whom? Is you, the borrower. What happens is that those like credit card companies, they make a promotion like to attract more customers to compete with other creditors. They tell you, listen, I will give you 5% back, right? Cash back, 5%, which means that whenever you finish like using $100, you can redeem the cash, right? You end up borrowing $100, you pay them 100, and they pay you back how much? $5. So the net amount that you pay is how much? 95. So cashback actually is halal, as simple as that, based on this very simple analysis. How about owner finance with interest? Owner finance with interest. You have a car dealership, okay, and you tell your customer, listen, this car is for $10,000 cash or $12,000 for 1 year. Or you know what? $13,000 for 2 years. $14,000 for 3 years. And you give them like unlimited options, right? Once your customer chooses one option, okay, I don't have cash for this car. Here's a $12,000 deal, right, for 2 years. And if you insist in the agreement and writing, okay, $10,000 price plus $2,000 interest, would that be counted as interest, as haram? Again, do not answer. I want you just to pause and try to unlock the secret of this deal. Now, let me just confuse you more. How about that? What if you or your customer said, okay, hold on, and he went to Chase, and he borrowed $10,000, giving it to you cash, took the car, and paid Chase $12,000 within 1 year. Is the first deal equivalent to the second one? Answer is no. Okay. If you are a car dealer and you make in-house finance, an installment sale, right? That would be halal. Even if you write down even if you write down that, the extra money, like the market value of the car is how much? 10,000. Let me ask you this. If the market value of the car is 10,000, do you have the right to ask for $12,000 cash? Can you? Yes, you can. There is a lot of transparency in the market, right? You go to KBB, you go to CarMax, and just enter the specification of the car. It shows you the market value, and you can make a decision. You take it or you leave it. So if the market value of the car is 10,000, and you do have the right to ask for $12,000 cash, why cannot you break down those 12,000 into 1 year? You see the argument here? This is from one side. From the other side, in the Islamic finance system, there are certain, very few cases where the time value is considered, is appreciated. Time value. Sometimes they call it the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. Let's say that you want to buy a car from your non-Muslim neighbor, right? And he is the one who's asking for $10,000 cash, okay, or $12,000 for 1 year. And he insisted as a non-Muslim to write down $10,000 price, $2,000 interest, right? That $2,000 interest is the time value, is the opportunity cost. In a sense that if he had decided to sell that car to somebody else, cash, how much he will be getting? 10,000. If he is to invest those $10,000 for 1 year in the market, how much he will be making? $2,000, right? So he is compromising that opportunity of getting $2,000 just to give you the car. So هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان, right? He did you a favor. You did him a favor back by giving him those $2,000. So owner finance with interest actually is halal. Even if the contract is written $10,000 in our example, $10,000 price plus $2,000 interest, it does not make it interest, right? It does not make it, and it's still actually halal. This is actually a bottle of water. Is that correct? If la samahullah there is something else like wine or beer here, it doesn't make it halal because it's written here like drinking water. Okay, what we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. So in this very particular scenario, the extra money is the time value, is the opportunity cost, and guess what? There is no loan to start with here. You are not borrowing money from John Smith who is asking for $10,000. Unlike if you tell him, okay, I'm going to take it for $10,000 cash, and then you go to Bank of America or Chase, you borrow $10,000, you pay him cash, and you pay $12,000 installment to Chase, that would make it haram. Although the outcome result actually is the same. The outcome result is the same. You purchased that car for $12,000 total out of pocket, right? But in the first scenario, there was no loan to start with. It was an in-house direct sale agreement between you and the owner of the car. But in the other scenario, the second scenario, you borrowed money from a third party, interest-bearing loan. You see the difference here? Let me skip the penalty clause just to save time. So the Islamic finance is all about risk sharing. Each and every, I would suggest that we just keep the questions toward the end. How about that? We'll open the discussion toward the end, inshallah, if you don't mind. So the Islamic finance actually is all about risk sharing. What is the opposite of risk sharing that we mentioned in the beginning? Risk shifting as opposed to risk sharing. Each and every single mode of finance in the Islamic finance system has to show, right, a certain amount of liability and risk taken by the financer, by the one who gives the money. And without that risk, any profit he or she makes will not be counted as halal one. And the Prophet ﷺ is the one who said that rule. He said, Al-kharaju bil-daman. Al-kharaju bil-daman. Profit follows liability. Profit follows liability. You want to make money? We would love to see you flourishing and making business. Have very successful business, but you need to do it in a most ethical way, right? You cannot lend money and ask for interest, but you can get involved in mudaraba, you can get involved in musharaka, you can get involved in murabaha, in ijara, and istisna, and the list actually goes on and on. But actually those are the most, I would say, famous and most reputable, usable, if you wish, modes of finance. Mudaraba, musharaka, murabaha, ijara, and istisna. Each one of them actually does have a significant amount of liability and risk taken by the financier himself. If that risk and liability is not proven in the contract, that particular mudaraba is a haram one. It is a semi-riba one. That particular istisna is a haram one. See what I'm saying? So it's not the istisna is wrong, no. It is the implementation of istisna is wrong. And this is actually the dilemma that so-called Islamic mortgage companies are going through in this society. They claim that they apply murabaha, but they do not. They do not apply it perfectly fine. They claim that they offer you what is called musharaka or declining partnership, but the way that they do it is just a semi-interest bearing loan. They claim to give you like a lease to own or ijara, okay? But again, the way that they execute the contract is absolutely wrong. So the defect, right, is not in the ijara itself. The defect actually is the implementation, the wrong application of the ijara. See what I'm saying here? Let me pick and choose only one example here, like for discussion purposes. I mean, just to make it clear that Islamic finance is all about risk sharing. All about risk sharing. Let's go with the musharaka one. Okay. What do you see here? Traditional versus Islamic. Let's say that we have two different brothers here in the community decided to mortgage a house. So we have my brother here. Your name? Naveed? Ihsan. So let's say brother Naveed and brother Ihsan. Naveed actually decided to go with traditional mortgage company, and Ihsan decided to go with Islamic mortgage company. Okay, let me just make a disclaimer. There is no genuine, sound, authentic, 100% halal home mortgage in the USA with very, very few exceptions. There is nothing called 100% Sharia compliant. Most of those so-called Islamic mortgage companies do not apply Islamic finance correctly. Just for discussion purposes, let's just assume that we live some way, somehow in a place where there is a genuine, sound, authentic Islamic finance practice. Okay? So let's say that brother Naveed, brother Ihsan, both of them applied for a mortgage. Both of them was approved for $500,000, right? And both of them have to pay $800,000 total within the next 30 years. So far, so good. Someone is just passing by, has no clue, doesn't know what's going on. You would just ask a very innocent question. Would say, what is the difference, right? Ihsan and Naveed, both of them borrowed $500,000 and they have to pay it back $800,000. What is the difference? That's a very good question, right? And that question, that confusion, by the way, is not something new, right? It was actually communicated and replied to. It was actually diffused, if you wish, right? Or refuted during the revelation of the Quran. Ay wallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said regarding certain people, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَى وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Some people say riba and riba agreement and sale agreement are the same. ذلك إنما البيع مثل الربا. Sale agreement is equivalent to riba agreement. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied by saying, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted the sale agreement and prohibited the riba one. How to apply this ayah, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى, in this very particular example? Again, if you zoom out, $500,000 to be paid back, $800,000. $500,000 to be paid back, $800,000. Okay. In reality, if you zoom in and look at the contract, Brother Naveed actually from day one, after signing the agreement, okay, he is absolutely by his own, maintaining the property, paying maintenance, tax, insurance. Something happened to the house, okay, the market value went up, went down, appreciation, depreciation, eminent domain, a natural disaster, whatever happened, okay, he is absolutely by his own. He decided one day after 5-7 years to quit, terminate the agreement. He puts the house in the market. Whatever profit you make is yours. Whatever actually increase in the market value, you will be incurring that loss. The bank or the mortgage company goes after you and asks for the principal plus the interest for that particular period of time. What happened with Brother Ihsan is completely different. Okay, Ihsan actually gets involved in what is called declining partnership. Okay, المشاركة المتناقصة المنتهية بالتمليك. He paid 5% down payment, okay, as a partner with the Islamic mortgage company. They paid 95% of the house, and you can see their name on the deed of trust as an owner of the property. So there is a co-ownership from day one. There is the legal ownership that's proven by the deed of trust. Okay? And even in the title itself, you will see his name, okay, owning 5%, and their name owning how much in our example? 95%. So the ownership, the legal, and the qabd, right? Like being fully responsible for the property is proven from day one. How does musharaka or declining partnership function here? Okay, you want to live in that house with your wife and your kids, and you own only 5%. So you need to rent, okay, the 95% share of the Islamic mortgage company. Here in the state of New Jersey or New York, is it New Jersey or New York? New Jersey. Okay, the fair rental value for your house, right? Let's say $3,000 a month. That Islamic mortgage company would ask you to pay $3,500 every single month. $3,000 for the rent, $500 for the equity, because it is a declining partnership. So you start 5% equity, 95% the mortgage company. After you make the first and the second payment, your equity will jump to 6%, and their equity will go down to 94, 7%, 93, 8%, 92, all the way until you reach to the very, very last payment where you kick them out of the partnership. And that's why they call it declining partnership. That's one thing. The second thing, during that long-term partnership between Brother Ihsan and the Islamic mortgage company, every single year they share the main expenses for maintaining the property proportionally. When you were owning 10% of the house and they own 90%, at that particular year, the total cost, maintenance, tax, and insurance. Of course, when I say maintenance, I don't mean like, wear and tear. No, I mean something that's really significant, like foundational issue, roofing, air conditioning, something that's really, significant. When it comes to the wear and tear, that's your responsibility because you occupy the property. I like to be also transparent and clear. So at that particular year, okay, the total cost was $10,000. Okay, you pay out of pocket only $1,000, and they pay how much? $9,000. This is how musharaka goes whenever Islamic finance is genuinely implemented. Let's say after 10, 15 years, okay, when you became 50% owner and they own 50%, you decided to quit. You do not want to continue that partnership. Something happened to the house industry in the state of New Jersey. Okay, there was an increase, there was an appreciation of $100,000. You put in your own pocket $50,000 whenever you sell that house. You put it in the market to sell it. You put in your own pocket $50,000, and they enjoy $50,000 profit. Vice versa, something happened, the market value went down. Okay, 100,000. You will be losing, incurring loss 50,000, and they incur loss how much? 50,000. Okay, eminent domain. The state of New Jersey took the property with no sufficient compensation. Whatever difference, right? You will be sharing the difference jointly, proportionally between you and the Islamic mortgage company. Natural disaster. Something happened and the insurance, for whatever reason, did not cover the damage. Okay? You were owning 45% of the house. You pay out of pocket 45% of the maintenance, like the repairing cost, and they pay 65%, and on and on. You see? This is actually the difference between what happened with Brother Naveed, right, and what happened with Brother Ihsan. Ihsan actually went with the genuine, sound, authentic Islamic finance practice, where he was actually sharing, okay, the ownership proportionally and the responsibility and the profit and the loss throughout the whole 30 years long agreement, while actually Ihsan from day one was absolutely by his own. So Ihsan went with the risk shifting mode of finance, and Naveed, right, went with the risk shifting one, and Ihsan went with the risk sharing one. That's the difference between the Islamic finance and the traditional one. Why riba is prohibited? That's another good question. Okay, some of your maybe non-Muslim friends partners, colleagues, whatever, ask you this question. You go to the bank, you take $100,000 loan for 5% APR. You put that money in a business. You make 20% profit. You pay the principal, you pay the bank 5% APR, and you keep the rest for yourself. It's a win-win situation. Everybody's happy, right? You make money and the bank makes money. Well, if everybody is happy, right? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making it hard for us by saying, no, you cannot borrow money from the bank? That's the question. Here is the answer. This scenario where you borrow money for 5% and you make 20% happens actually often, but it's not the only scenario that takes place in the real life. It does happen, and I'm fully responsible for what I say, that some people might borrow money, okay, for 5% APR from the bank, but their business actually is so profitable, so much so that they do not make 20%, they do not make 200%, they make more than 500% net profit. Can you believe it? My son, Suhaib, the oldest one, 31 years old. Alhamdulillah, he doesn't borrow money from banks. He has his own business that's called Vintage. Vintage, he buys like a kind of old, useless clothes from, they call it Salvation Army and like other charity organizations, right? He buys clothes from them. He says, Baba, sometimes I buy the shirt for $5 and I sell it for $50. So if he buys it for $5 and sells it for $10, how much is the profit margin? 100%, right? If he sells it for $15, that's 200%. What if he sells it for $50? You see? So the profit rate jumps sometimes to 500 to 600, 700%. If that individual is borrowing money with interest from the bank for only 5% APR, and he or she makes 600, 700% net profit, is there any justice and fairness here that he takes 695% profit, right, and gives the bank only changes only 5%? Where is the justice? Where is the fairness here? Now that might be like a very extreme example. How about the other extreme? Someone borrowed money, again for 5% APR, back in March 2020. And after taking the money, COVID-19, came and just took over the whole economy and finance system in the USA, and everything actually was frozen. That poor person, that miskin, was unable to make a profit, unable to break even, unable even to keep the money. I mean, he just lost everything. And it was an act of God. Qada wa qadar, as we say, right? Believe it or not, by the law of the land, the bank does have the right to go after him, that miskin, and ask for the principal and ask for the interest as well. And the same question, where is the justice? Where is the fairness here? So the answer is that whenever, subhanAllah, whenever riba or interest is implemented in any society, it brings a lot of financial exploitation and dhulm and injustice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is the one who declared in the Quran itself that the main reason behind sending all the prophets and all the messengers and all the books and the scriptures and even the mizan, which is the symbol of justice, only to establish justice on earth. He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, which means we have already sent our messengers with the clear evidences. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانِ, and we sent down with them the scripture and the balance. What is the reason behind all that? قَالَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ, so people may maintain their affairs in justice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants justice to be integrated and fully implemented on earth. Of course, justice in aqidah, that you worship none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Justice in ibadah, that you do not do something that's really hard for you. Justice in muamala as well. I mean, we would love to see you flourishing and making profit, but not on the cost, okay, on the cost of the comfort, okay, and the justice of or injustice against other people. So the one actually who applies riba or incorporates riba in any society, he brings a lot of injustice and financial exploitation. He stands against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jal has made riba clear. Whether the APR, by the way, annual percentage rate, is 0.5% or 1% or 10%, it doesn't make a difference. Riba is haram for everybody at any time for any reason. Haram in Makkah al-Mukarramah, haram in Las Vegas, haram in New York, haram every time, everywhere, until the day of judgment. That is the nature of the divine rules. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes sariqah or zina or qatl or riba haram, it is absolutely haram until qiyam as-sa'ah. For everybody, every transaction, for every reason. No difference between qalil riba wa kathiru. Some people until today question, the fact that, banks charging 4 or 5%, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا تأكل الربا أضعافا مضاعفة. Do not eat riba if it is like multiplied several times, أضعافا, like multiple times. That's absolutely incorrect. Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Quran said, وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. I want to emphasize the fact here that in the Islamic finance system, riba is not a mode of finance, believe it or not. Riba is not a mode of finance. Loan is not a mode of finance. In the Islamic finance system, in the Islamic ethics and principles, loan actually is an act of charity. You want to do your sister a favor. She is in financial hardship. You give her a few hundreds of dollars to use them maybe for a few days, for a few months, and then pay you back. And you incur that loss of difference in the, what they call it, the purchase power. Because your intention is to get the reward and the blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ have told us that if you lend your money twice, qardun hasan, you will be rewarded as if you have donated that money. If you lend that money, okay, twice, I gave my money to Naveed, and I took it back, and gave it to Ihsan, and took it back, I will be counted as if I have donated that money. So again, loan is not a mode of finance. Do not give your money to someone who wants to make a business. I mean, you can, but it's not a good decision. If I do have, for example, $100,000, and someone from the community is approaching me asking for $100,000, okay, qardul hasan, interest-free loan, for 3 years, to upgrade his business. He has a car dealership and he wants to buy more cars. Do you think it is a good idea for me to give him $100,000 for 3 years, right? And after 3 years, if he decides to pay me back the money, where the purchase power is going down maybe 30% because of the severe inflation. So he uses my money for 3 years, okay? If the purchase power of the money now is 100,000, how much is going to be after 3 years? 75,000. So I lose money in reality, and he makes money from my money, and then coming to me with a big hug, oh Sheikh, Jazakallah khair, thank you, here's your money back. Is this like a good decision? Absolutely no. If I know from day one that you want my money for business purposes, let's sit down and talk business. I can give you the money, but not as a loan. I can give it to you as a mudaraba. Here you go. I can give it to you as a mudaraba. I know you very well. I know that you're mashallah, a very successful car dealer. Here is my $100,000 as a mudaraba, as a partnership, right? You take that money, you put it in car dealership. If there is a profit toward the end of the fiscal year or the business course, I will be entitled to 20% of the profit based on market value of your business. Are you okay with that? If he says yes, then I give him the money, not as a loan. So I cannot guarantee the principal, I cannot guarantee the return, right? If there is a net actual profit toward the end of the fiscal year, I will be entitled to get my 20%. 20% from the net profit, not 20% of the principal. Be careful. Okay? If I'm to say, okay, 20% of the principal, then I'm asking for how much? $20,000. That's wrong. Okay? In the Islamic finance system, the percentage should be from the actual profit, the net profit, not connected with the profit, not with the principal. Is that clear? So I'm entitled in our example to get 20% of the net profit of the business itself, based on my math and the finding out the market value of the business. So if there is a profit, I will be getting my 20%. What if there was no profit? No profit. Well, I can just take my principal and just go back home, ma'asalam. No profit. What if, worst case scenario, something happened like COVID-19, and that guy, the car dealer, was unable to maintain the business and to make a profit? He just ran out of business. He lost even the money. Well, believe it or not, I cannot even go after him and ask for the principal. The principal is gone. That's the nature of business. Tijar ribh wa khasara, as we say. So in the same way that I was looking forward to get 20%, I have to take the risk of losing the money, right? That is the risk, risk sharing that we actually preach and we ask people to implement. Almost done. Of course, as a Muslim community, like one of the one of the taxes that we have to pay here is to like keep navigating through the system and compromising all those business and investment opportunities that they are not halal. Because alhamdulillah, we want to make sure that we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our mu'amalat, in our business transaction and careers and investment, right? In the same way that we obey Him in the ibadat. The one who orders us to pray and to fast and to pay zakat al-mal, He is the same one, who has like made riba prohibited. So we have to make sure that we educate ourselves actually more and more to make sure that we understand fully what's haram and what's halal. So to implement and to go through whatever is halal and to stay away from whatever is haram. So we have a long way to go when it comes to education. Take, for example, cryptocurrency, student loans, retirement accounts, right? It has, I have a full presentation about retirement accounts, investing in the stock market in general, insurance, especially the life one, home mortgage, banking, and actually the list goes on and on. Guidance Residential, the one that I'm representing tonight, actually does offer Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. We have Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. Alhamdulillah, recently, last month, we get fully accredited in United Kingdom, okay, by an agency called ASIC, A-S-I-C. We are on the process of getting the school, the college, Guidance College, accredited in the USA, inshallah. So inshallah, yani, I would maybe wallah alam, within less than 2 years, inshallah, you will hear the good news that Guidance College became accredited in the USA. And we are working closely with an agency here actually in New York called the Middle State Commission of Higher Education. Middle State Commission of Higher Education. We are working like closely with them, inshallah, we'll get our accreditation. So that's Guidance College. It's purely online and evening and weekend college. So Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, we do not have classes. All the classes actually are offered either in the evening or in the weekend with a very affordable tuitions. The bachelor's degree from A to Z, like 130 credit hours, 4 years. We charge our students only $10,000, believe it or not. So we work for free. Okay? The Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance, we charge $125 per credit hour. Times 36, that's almost 5,000. So the whole Masters, okay, 2 years, 36 credit hours, only $5,000. Bachelor's degree, 4 years, we charge only $75 dollars per credit hour. Not only that, we do have actually what's called an in-house scholarship and financial aid. Alhamdulillah, a good number of our students are new reverts, converts, to Islam. And alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, we did not in the past, and we do not in the present, and inshallah we will not in the future deny the application of any student because he or she cannot afford paying the tuition fees. We do have, alhamdulillah, fund for what is called in-house financial aid. And actually we turn to our community and we ask them like for their financial support to continue, inshallah, doing the mission and the job on their behalf. So that is Guidance College. Of course, the Muslim community has to do its own due diligence, its own job. We do have, like, in order for us to implement Islamic finance in a very authentic and genuine and sound way, okay, we have short-term solution and we have long-term solution. The short-term solution is to tap in the resources of the Muslim community, okay? I've been like in this field for the last 20 plus years of my stay in the USA. And I can assure you all that we have thousands of millions of dollars owned by the Muslim community nationwide. We have a lot of millions scattered all over the country, owned by Muslims. The problem here is that we are not, like until today, we are not up to the challenge when it comes to keeping the Muslim dollars within. We are not standing for our principles aggressively to implement Islamic finance. In the same way that this society actually has a lot of like restrictions and guidelines when it comes to investment in the stock market, it does actually give you a lot of opportunities if you want to step aside and to do business by your own. Okay, take for example, mortgage is a highly regulated industry in the USA. Mortgage is a highly regulated industry in the USA. This is actually if you want to deal with the secondary market, if you want to sell those contracts that you have to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, right? You have to go through the process. What if you decide to declare your independence by just establishing a side business, creating an LLC, collecting money from the community, purchasing homes and applying the musharaka one the way that you believe is correct? What will happen? System actually is welcoming you. Please do me a favor and do whatever you want. So the syndication and the crowdfunding actually is the solution. Syndication means that you tap in the resource of the community, taking big amounts, right? Crowdfunding is the same concept, but like small amounts. Like you allow small investors with $50 or $100 to get involved and to make business. Can you do crowdfunding? Yes, you can. And actually, I do Sharia compliance consultation for several companies, and I see, alhamdulillah, the positive result that when the Muslim community is deciding to stand for its principles and apply genuine and sound and authentic Islamic finance practice and Islamic investment, they can do that. They can do that. Okay. One of the companies actually do have a crowdfunding system. Syndication. They have a network of engineers and doctors and lawyers and business people. Okay. They collect fund. Each project actually is between $30 to $35 million. They purchase a piece of land, they do the zoning and the platting, and sell it back for a profit. They pay profit to the investors, and they keep a certain percentage as their commission. It's a win-win situation. Everybody's making money, in the most halal way. And I'm the one actually who sit there and just make sure that the contract is a halal and there's nothing wrong with it, Sharia compliance-wise. So syndication and crowdfunding actually is a solution. So far, we do have some attempts here or there. Mutual fund companies, right? We have a Zad fund, we have a Amana fund, we have Sharia portfolio, we have Zaki Financial. Alhamdulillah, we have several options when it comes to investing in the stock market. They are not in the same level when it comes to Sharia compliance, to make it to make it clear, but at least they try to be as Sharia compliant as possible. We do have Islamic mortgage companies. ليسوا سوا. Some of them are doing almost like a acceptable job, and some of them actually do otherwise. But at least, alhamdulillah, we do have some attempts to provide Islamic alternative. Long-term solution for us is to get more involved in politics. We need to penetrate the system. We need to talk to lobbyists. We need to be financially strong, okay, to be politically strong, or otherwise politically strong to be financially strong. So we need to push our agenda, right, to make sure that we that the whole system actually does allow Islamic finance to be implemented. Now, in my very humble experience, there is a severe severe incompatibility, to put it this way, okay, between the Islamic finance one and the traditional one. Traditional one, actually, it's all about lending money with interest. The Islamic finance one, you cannot lend money with interest, as simple as that. So you cannot apply Islamic finance in the most authentic and genuine way if the whole system actually is a non-Islamic one. You cannot. You're just wasting your time. So in order for you to apply Islamic finance the way that you want, you need to be politically involved. You need to get involved. You need to push your agenda. You need to talk to lobbyists. You need to change the rules and the regulations to allow Muslims actually practicing Deen the way that they want. You can check those like, you know, those attempts, something called Edifice X, right? You will see me there like sitting on the Sharia board. This is a platform, kind of marketplace, right, for home mortgage purposes. We do apply declining partnership. We are not a mortgage company. We facilitate Islamic mortgage. So buyers actually go there and post their homes. Buyers actually go there and pick the house that they want to they buy. Sellers, they can post and advertise their properties there, right? Investors can go there and just buy tokens. This is actually a blockchain tokenization business. So we as a company, we tokenize the rest of the house. You go there, you purchase 5% of the house that you want to own, and we bring investors to purchase the rest of the house. And we go declining partnership in the most authentic way that you could ever think about. There is something called Fi Wallet if you want to save the purchase power of the money that you have, right? You go to Fi Wallet, you download their app, and you start investing with them by just purchasing gold. This is a kind of passive investment. They do not put that money or that gold in a business, no. They just convert the money that you have into gold. You keep that money for 1, 2, 3 years. Whenever you decide to sell, you will see the difference between what you deposit and what you will be receiving because of the intrinsic value that golds have. Zaki Financial, you will see me there as a Sharia consultant for this company, ZakiFinancial.com. They have business in the stock market. Atina, for example, is the same. You will see me there as the Sharia advisor of that company. So what I want to say here is that those are some examples of actual, real, successful business that decide to implement the principles of Islamic finance, and they hire me to do the consultation for them to make sure that the business is a Sharia compliant one. Please visit guidancecollege.org to introduce you, to get to know more about the programs that we offer. Here is my email address, drman@guidancecollege. As I said, I do Sharia compliance consultation. You can reach out and book an appointment through this website, clarity.fm-Dr. Man Alqudah. So this is actually briefly what I have in mind. I think we need to break now for a few minutes. And if you don't mind, I mean, just have it as a break, right? Break means that no questions. So let's just have some refreshments, some tea, and then inshallah we'll do Salat al-Isha. And I promise, after Salat al-Isha, I will stay inshallah with you for question and answer. Does that sound reasonable enough? So no questions for now, inshallah. Just coffee and tea, right? Salat al-Isha, inshallah we'll have an open session, question and answer after the Isha. Good deal? طيب جزاكم الله خير.